All right, I want to continue this same line of discussion with the former FBI Assistant Director, Danny Coulson, who essentially, you're looking at the fact, Danny, that Comey could have done more, but did not. And that's telling you. Explain.
I think it says volumes on the fact of what he did not do. If he thought that there was obstruction of justice here, then his duty is to go to the acting attorney general, or the deputy attorney general, or the attorney general, or his oversight committees and tell them that. And it's kind of humorous to me that a 6'9" director of the FBI was intimidated by anybody. I chuckle when he said that. I know that James Comey, and
but Danny, you know, you're in the White House, right? I mean, and you're in the Oval Office, and you know it. Maybe you're taken aback. That's how he viewed it. But if he had to do it again, he would do it differently. But bottom line, he claimed that something like this, and his desire to take notes, copious notes after exchanges, either on the phone or in person with President Trump, this is something that he never did or had to do with Barack Obama or George Bush. What did you make of that?
Well, it's difficult to understand exactly what he meant by that. I cannot imagine anybody going and interviewing the President of the United States or having a conversation and not making some notes about it. And I have to believe him when he said he didn't typically do it. Yeah. But I think that what we're talking about, bottom line here, is that we're talking about maybe some misbehavior. There's not a crime here, as far as I can see. Based on what we're presented with today and his testimony, if there was a crime, James Comey would have done something about it and gone after it appropriately. He has the whole weight of the FBI behind him, and he has oversight committees that would have loved to have talked to him about that.
Yeah, the only time it did get in anyone else's hands is after he was fired. That conversation was afterwards. But let me ask you a little bit. We are waiting to hear very shortly now, and Comey now is leaving the hearing room, going into the classified briefing right now. I don't know if he's going to speak to reporters. Any audio coming from that, guys? No, he's gone. You're right, Danny. He is a very tall guy. There's intent and then something that borders on impeachable offense. Chris Christie, whose lawyer is now the president's candidate to be the next FBI director, had said of Donald Trump on this whole matter and the language that might be deemed inappropriate to some. Quote, what you're seeing is a president who is now publicly learning about the way people react to what he considers to be normal New York City conversation. Blunt, maybe inappropriate, not illegal. What did you think of that?
Oh, I totally agree with that. I was an FBI agent in New York City for many years, and that's the way New Yorkers talk. And he's certainly a tough New Yorker, and I think he was expressing frustration. I don't think that he really believed that he can intimidate the FBI director to close a case. First of all, the agents would rise up if that happened, and he's got to know that. So I think Chris Christie, and I don't normally agree with him, but I think in this case he's right on the mark.
You know, Danny, real quick, and you've been very patient on some of my idiotic questions, but Mark Kasowitz, who we're waiting to hear from, Danny, the lawyer, he had said soon after Comey's written testimony was released that it confirmed private reports that the president was not under investigation in the Russian probe. Yeah. Now, it did cite, and the president turned out to have been right when he said in his letter firing Comey that he had been exonerated 3 times. I'm paraphrasing here. Do you think that is still the case now?
I think so, but we will know the answer to that. Bob Mueller is doing an investigation. I worked with Bob Mueller. He's tenacious, he's tough, he's not a lot of fun to be around, but I will tell you, he's as good as it gets when it comes to getting to the bottom of a complicated and serious issue like that. We'll know the answer to that. Right now, the answer is he's not under investigation.
When do you think we'll know it? I know these things are hard to time, Danny, but I mean, a lot of people are saying the longer this drags on, well, I see things through the prism of my greedy little market guys, and they're worried that this disrupts all that stuff they like, that this is a soap opera that could go on and on. What's your gut telling you?
Bob Mueller will not let it go on and on. He'll investigate it as long as there's something there to investigate, and when it's over, he'll close it. I would say it'll probably take 3 months or so.
Really?
First of all, he has to digest. Oh, I think so. He has to digest what's already been done. He's going to bring the same agents in to work for him that did the initial thing, I'm pretty sure. That's what we did on Iran-Contra. And I think it'll be about 3 months. That could be maybe a little long, but knowing how these things work, it's like watching paint dry sometimes, and it takes a long time for that paint to dry properly.
You mentioned this earlier, and this is the last question because I know you got to go. But this notion that the President of the United States is meeting with the FBI director alone for dinner in a room. Would you do that if you knew that was coming? Obviously, you serve at the pleasure of the president. He could fire you at any time. But obviously, Mr. Comey said he was surprised at that, thought there'd be more people in the room. What do you just think of that, just the appearance of that?
I think the appearance is bad. First of all, the director works for the Attorney General, and there is a chain of command.
Right.
I would have requested that the Attorney General be here, but I think he was taken off guard.
But the Attorney General already recused himself, right? So he was in this weird kind of course, at that time he hadn't. At that time he hadn't, right?
No, that's right. He hadn't at that time. However, he does work for the Attorney General, and it's more appropriate for the director of the FBI to be in the company of the Attorney General when he talks to the President, unless there's some tactical situation, which I know have happened, where the Director of the FBI has talked to the President about a tactical resolution of an international terrorism investigation. But other than that, I don't see a reason for it to be a private conversation, very frankly. We need to keep the FBI independent, and that's really, really important.
You know, it might be the sleeper story here. By the way, I lied. It wasn't my last question. This other issue that okay. might have motivated the multiple briefings that Director Comey had at the time on the whole email scandal with Hillary Clinton, that the genesis for a lot of that might have been with the Justice Department saying, treat this as a matter, not an investigation, and he recoiled at that. And then the follow-up with Bill Clinton at the time meeting with Loretta Lynch at an airport, on an airport tarmac. He said, and they said later on to discuss grandkids, kids, and all that. But what did you make of that now? If that's the backdrop for what seemed to be, a couple of different briefings.
Well, here's the big issue for me. The way the Department of Justice treated the Comey investigation of Hillary Clinton was totally inappropriate, in my view, making them call it a matter. The fact that they would not give them a grand jury on the most important investigation on the FBI's plate at that time. That, to me, totally controlled the investigation. It limited what the agents could do. It hampered it. So basically, the director of the FBI was forced to make a decision based on an incomplete investigation. There's only one way to manipulate the FBI, and that's through the Department of Justice cutting their water off, frankly.
All right, so on that matter, and on this matter, anything that gets resurrected or drawn out again, in other words, that hints of this neither going away, that they both sort of get re-fired up.
They do, and remember, it's politics. We saw it today. Yeah. Beautiful politics. That's why you guys were there, and that's why I watched.
All right, Danny, thank you very much. Good stuff.
Thank you.